Everyone can hear me okay, I'm guessing? Yes, perfect, great. I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes talking through global inspiration for retail media, looking at what's going on around the world. I see a number of people that I know in the industry around the audience, so I'm really hoping I can show something that's a little bit new, but we'll see where we get to. So, first and foremost, the side hustle became the main hustle. I'm not going to bore you with how big retail media is, we just know that it's really big and continuing to grow. And when someone like Amazon is making way more money, up to 13 times more revenue or margin than they are, from the sale of goods, we know how important this is becoming for retailers. And I thought I'd plot a quick timeline. Clearly, none of the builds made it into this deck, so imagine lots of lovely builds. But I thought at the start of the year, when they asked me to speak, I'd plot a timeline of the new developments that we see in 2025 for retail media. And I constantly just kept having to move it further and further down the page, because when we started on the 1st of Jan, I thought, okay, straight out the gate. But actually in Australia, we've had 3 announcements in the last 2 weeks alone. So massive movements in retail media. Anyone that has some opportunity, some data that they can sell, is starting to create a proposition that's useful. And when we think about retail media, it's generally considered to be a great bet because it goes all the way up and down the proverbial marketing funnel. And today I want to particularly dive into 2 key things. The attention that we can track and follow and continue to hold as we move down into conversion and down to advocacy, but also, especially from a brand perspective, the attribution that we want to get from that conversion, from the advocacy, right back up to understand what the consumer journey was through the marketing funnel. So I'll be talking about these 2 topics today, and fingers crossed I can stick to time. I can already see the timer person back there. So 3 things on attribution. First and foremost, the biggest challenge for branded investment coming from marketing dollars is that there is a challenge around attribution. But actually, if you look at this Forrester chart, which is super blurry, the number 1 place that consumers say they are willing to stop, read, look at, listen, engage to ads is in-store. Everywhere else is less than in-store. So what I wanted to do today is talk about how we can start improving attribution in-store using a couple of examples from around the world. Now, I don't know where John is, he's down there, but I'm going to cheat slightly with my around the world, and I'm going to start in the UK, because I feel like I just got to call out Asda as a really great example of how they're trying to attribute in-store, typically shopper marketing level activity through sampling that is suddenly something that is going into apps, is engaging with consumers. You've got a screen as well, so you can do measurement from that. But I thought this was a really, really exciting opportunity. I'd love to see further opportunity where actually you might be able to build audiences and through their app target with different samples. So maybe if it's pet care, if you've got a dog, you get dog food. If you've got a cat, you get cat food. If you like dark chocolate, you get dark chocolate. If you like milk chocolate, you get milk chocolate. Obviously far more complex than that with audience building, but huge opportunity to start doing that. The one thing I would say is, depending on if the clicker wants to work, Tom. Thank you. The one thing I would say is that this could probably start accelerating already. There's a couple of Eastern European retailers that when, okay, it's really expensive to put a custom-built vending machine in that's going to do sampling. So I'm just going to put a QR code next to the sampling, and the nice person that's doing the sampling is going to say, by the way, to get the sample, I just need you to scan the QR code in the app. So yeah, just something a little bit different, but more and more attribution in store there. Next, I'm going to talk about screens, and I don't know where Dean's gone, but he sent me the stuff that Co-op are doing yesterday, so I didn't quite have time to put it in, so I am going to take us on a little journey around the world. First, we'll start with Coles in Australia. They're doing some really interesting stuff around partnering with Circana on how you can measure different control groups to look at the impact of in-store screens on sales. So I would just caveat that that's mainly on sales. The jury's a little bit out, because if I'm honest, long periods of exposure, the sales uplift seems to be less than 1%, and screens are not cheap to run and they have huge costs for brands. But that's where I think we move on to some other examples, and similar examples like the one that Co-op shared yesterday around how do we take it beyond just I'm using a screen to drive conversion, and instead look at I'm using a screen to do brand building activity. So in the top right, you've got Shopomotion. They're based out of Spain. They do some really interesting stuff where they put anonymous tags on shopping carts and on baskets and track the consumer, the shopper's journey around the store. They can do it pretty much straight away. It takes about a week to put that into store, and they can track the consumer journey. The benefit of that is it's not just used as it was historically to understand where are the bottlenecks, where are the places where there's, you need to widen the aisle or you need to have increased fixture space. This is now being used to understand whether or not a consumer walked in front of a screen, can line that up with what ad was served, and then when they get to the till with a 97% degree of accuracy, they can pair that to your loyalty card data, or if not loyalty card data, at least for the transaction to understand, I saw a screen, maybe it displayed a lovely Mars advert, and I suddenly changed direction and I went into the confectionery aisle and I purchased some M&Ms. So really exciting stuff. I don't know about you, I am that shopper though, who thinks I don't need a basket, don't need a trolley, and then I got 20 things at the till, I don't have my bags for life, absolute nightmare. The lady or man looks at me and goes, this guy, he's playing Jenga. That's where Footprints AI come in. That's really cool. So what they're doing instead is they're plugging into existing technology that's in the store, things like Wi-Fi, things like in-store cameras, to triangulate where you are in the store based on your phone. So every 5 seconds, your phone Wi-Fi will refresh, and it will send out a small signal that says, hey, I'm looking for some Wi-Fi signals. They use that to triangulate anonymously where you are in store. They can use in-store cameras to then understand, your age, whether you've got a family with you, all these different demographic tools, and then they can start building audiences in the store environment. So it's no longer just, okay, they have this shopping repertoire, they're this kind of audience. Actually, they can do it in the store, which is really, really cool. And they're based out of Romania. And then the last one, talk a little bit about the US and how we can start attributing the app in store. So really exciting move, I think, from CVS in the US. The US has a massive problem with theft in retail. NRF reckons it's about $132 billion a year, which is terrifying. CVS and other retailers have a challenge that by putting things like locked cabinets in, it really blocks the consumer mission and the shopper mission. And actually, 27% of shoppers have said, if I have to wait for someone to unlock a cabinet, I don't just not buy that item, I abandon my entire shopper journey. So huge problem. I need to stop theft, but I also don't want to block people from making purchases. And then CVS also realized that they only have 58% app uptake. So there's probably an opportunity there to drive further app uptake. And then lastly, we know, especially in the US, that about 32% of consumers use apps when they're in store. So CVS had the great idea when they were updating the app and doing loads of other stuff around pharmacy, QR codes, to put a sensor on some of these cabinets, and you can just open your app, touch your phone to it, it registers that you've made that experience or that interaction, it unlocks the cabinet for you. If there's theft, obviously it's tied to your app, so we probably don't want to be too obvious about that. But also it opens up a massive opportunity to look at, well, who was it that engaged in that fixture? Did they actually buy anything from that fixture? Was it merchandised in the correct way? How long were they there before they closed the cabinet? Is the fixture merchandised in a way that makes it easily shoppable? Loads of cool stuff that I think can come there. Okay, moving quickly on to attention and the second topic. There's a massive problem with attention. I'm amazed I've got so many people looking at me right now. This is really good. But we are in the attention economy. So I'll do 3 quick examples from around the world of how we can try and hold that attention and keep it going down the funnel. First one, imagine there are builds. I would then ask you, who is the dog in the top left corner? It's Rufus. It's Amazon's first office dog. That's where Rufus AI comes from the name. But I think it's pretty cool that Amazon has introduced Rufus as a concept for AI shopping, but actually already in the US, we're seeing a beta pilot now where within the results that are provided by Rufus, you're now starting to see sponsored video results as well. So unsurprisingly, when you have a great tool that improves the shopper journey, there's always going to be an opportunity to monetize it, and that's what Amazon's looking to do with Rufus and with these sponsored video ads. They're currently in limited categories, but it'd be really interesting to see if they go any further. The other thing that'll be interesting is if a Rufus sponsored brand video or a Rufus sponsored ad has more cut through with a consumer because they think, well, actually this is being served to me when I've asked some genuine questions about the product I'm after, will there be a new rate card for it? Will it cost more? Will the CPMs go up? My guess is probably yes, but we'll wait and see what that looks like. There, now the videos work, great. And there you can see the video ad at the bottom appearing, which is really cool. I'm going to jump to quick commerce and we're going to move really quickly to India. So Amazon again, they've just launched Amazon Now, which is their new 10-minute delivery service in India. India, massive for quick commerce. And so Amazon has decided they want a slice of the pie. But what's really interesting about that is they've been very open and said, right now we're going to do groceries and food because that is the quick commerce model. But very quickly, we want to adapt and expand to include kitchenware, household items, potentially larger items, maybe looking at some UK retailers like Screwfix that have seen success on quick commerce models, and actually how can we start just serving the consumer irrelevant of what their shopper mission is in a really fast way. And what's really interesting is when we think about quick commerce, we have to treat it slightly differently for retail media. So Glovo shared some results that 1.7 times more engagement and higher ROAS from category banners, and 1.3 times higher ROAS and engagement from in-store banners, in-store being the retailer within the Glovo app, than sponsored search. So, I mean, do I dare do a show of hands? Normally we'd always think sponsored search, that's the way that you're going to drive ROAS. Whether you think of doing the right behavior or the wrong behavior, that's the one that's going to drive return. Actually, in quick commerce, it looks like it's slightly different. And potentially where we think people are going, I need nappies, I need ketchup, they're actually probably going, I need a meal for tonight and I don't know what I need, or I've got friends coming around and I want to give them a gift. So that's the kind of open shopper missions that we're seeing. I think there's an opportunity for AI, similar to Rufus, to start playing a role in here as well. I've got 10 minutes, oh crap, I need a gift for that friend that's coming around whose birthday it is and I completely forgot. An AI tool could step in and serve you some content there and maybe some ads as well. And then we jump quickly to the US again, and we just talk about grocery TV for a minute. So I'm trying to see if there's anyone from Tesco in the room. They always talk about the number of screens they have. Obviously, the US is much bigger. The UK fits inside Texas 3 times, so bigger footprint. But grocery TV have 19,000 screens across 5,000 locations in the US. It is enormous. And these are served all across. I'll just see if the animation works. Oh, they might all come in a separate build, so let's see. Who knows? But genuinely serving brand adverts, and crucially, there's a lot of guidance from the teams at Grocery TV. Don't just give us whatever your TVC is. Give us something that is shorter, tighter, that's going to grab attention in store and going to hold it long enough to tell them what you want to tell them. So you've got examples from PepsiCo, for example, RX Bar, and even non-endemic brands, like insurance, like banking, that can also feature here. So yeah, when you've got all of that space, when you've got a shopper who, I'm not a person that gets in and out really quickly. My wife hates it. I'll be walking around, maybe I've got a list, maybe I don't. I'd probably stop and look at these things. So, in summary, we've kind of gone all the way down with attention and all the way up with attribution. I've given you 6 different examples from around the world of retail media that I think is exciting. The cliff notes really are around how does AI start working with retail media, with advertising. Where is the shopper's barrier to that? Where do they suddenly say, hang on a minute, this is meant to be giving me genuine recommendations and suddenly I'm being served ads? Where does the trust level come from? But a big part of AI. In-store screens, definitely a big piece, huge investment coming from retailers, but the attribution model is the challenge there. And I think there's 2 different versions we need to look at. One is around sales driving, one is around brand building. They have completely different metrics and never should we measure them with the same metrics and the same KPIs. And then the last one I think is around generally that attribution in store. So more and more, how do we digitize the store? There's a couple of examples from Romania, Spain, around in-store tracking. That holds loads of opportunities. Everything from, did they go to that aisle, are we out of stock, right through to, did they see that screen or that piece of POS? Did it actually drive value for me? Do I want to reinvest in that piece of retail media again? And that's it from me. Thank you very much.